there's things that I grew up doing with my parents that most kids probably wouldn't do with their parents, and I won't go into like full detail or nothing, but like, there's things like, like I grew up, I mean, I grew up growing pot with my dad, you know what I mean? Things like that. And to a lot of people, they would look at that as that is just absolutely just, horrible. But in my case, I don't really look at it that way. I genuinely don't, because that was something that, uh, my dad knew how to do, uh, growing up with his dad or whatever. And that was just kind of a life skill thing that we knew to do to get by. You know what I mean?
So I am here today with Noah Thompson on the FTS podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm doing good.
So you won season 20 of American Idol?
Yes. I always get it backwards, but yes. Yes.
Break it down to me. How was that experience? How did you get involved?
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, from starting out, I mean, basically straight out of high school, I got a job, and I was working for a company called Addicts Recovery Care. And that was the first and only company I ever worked for, like an actual job, before American Idol had happened. And I had a buddy sign me up for it, and we just got on there, and him and I, we met during my time working at ARC, Addiction Recovery Care, and they would kind of have me sing around here and there, man, on the job site or wherever, And he just all of a sudden one day told me he was going to sign me up for American Idol. And we had gotten on there, and I tell this to everybody, but we truly we didn't have any expectations of anything really coming out of it. We just wanted to get on there and, potentially come off and have somewhat of a fan base to work with, because we were playing like, small town dive bars on the weekends. We'd work throughout the week, and that was about all we loved to do, you know what I mean? So, but he signed me up for the show. And then, I ended up winning, and I got off, and it changed everything. And, yeah.
You didn't expect to win at all?
No, not even close. I was scared to death, man. I was scared to death.
Yeah.
I was, I had a baby when I first turned 19, and I was trying to take care of him and everything also. And I didn't know how to, be a dad. I didn't know how to, I was still learning construction at the time. Life just really smacked me pretty early on, you know what I mean? And I was just trying to map it all out super quick. And then American Idol, and coming off of that, and then I was like trying to do it all at once. And it's just a lot, you know, for me mentally at the time.
No, it is a lot. Like so many people are watching you on TV, and you're a young dad, and then you're trying to learn construction, and you kind of have this passion for 100%. Music.
And I've always been the type of person, like I'm never in any way going to put myself in a position where I am, I guess, the, center of attention, I guess, if that makes any sense. And so like, being in that, you are the center of attention. It's like you're, and like you got all these people around you, and everything just switches up all around. And I don't know, it's a crazy experience, man. But like all that to say, like it's nothing but a good time. Like all the people on there are such good people. The producers, I still talk to them. Lady named Megan Wolfick, she's like the head producer of the whole franchise, and I love her so much. And she still reaches out, talks to me. They're just good people. All around, man. They're great people. And it was a good experience.
When did you start playing music, writing music, singing?
I picked up a guitar and started getting really serious about the guitar when I was probably about 13. But I grew up with my dad, and my dad was always my biggest influence in music, and he always will be. But he wrote so many songs. He had like, I remember seeing there was a tote, like a full-on moving tote, and it had, pages of songs that he just wrote throughout the years and stuff. And it was just so neat to me to see that, you know what I mean? And that was quickly after. It wasn't long after that I realized that I wanted to be just like him, you know what I mean? I wanted to write songs and play music and stuff. And so I started really wanting to play guitar, and I tried to write songs, and they were not good, not even close. They were really bad. But, it was a start, and I just knew I loved doing it though, but I didn't know how to take those steps to put myself in a position where it could potentially be a career thing,
But that was ideal. That's what you wanted.
Yes, yeah, man. It was just crazy dream thing. You grow up wishing and praying, that, maybe I could do something like that one day, but you think it's not actually going to happen.
Yeah, it doesn't seem feasible.
No, it's still to this day, I mean, even right now, I've only been in this 3.5 years, but it still is like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, I never thought that I would be in a position where I could even do this, you know, in any way, shape, or form. So like, it's wild to think about that whole experience, you know, especially from being a kid to now. But like I said, man, it's my dad was my biggest influence, and just being in that environment my whole life, with music being surrounded.
Is he still in your life today?
Yes. He still writes. He still tries to sing. He does all of it. So, but yeah, man. He was my biggest influence in music growing up, and he always will be. And so, all that to say, it was, you know, yeah, good overall experience and how I got to where I am now.
When you first started, you said you worked at an addiction, something.
Yes, addiction recovery care.
What was that about, and why?
Honestly, because, well, my cousin at the time, my buddy James, man, I had graduated. I needed a job, and I just wanted to start working as soon as I got out of school, because I've been raised to work hard and
be a provider in a sense.
Yeah, man. And you know, you come from a small town and everything also as well. And also, not only that, I loved the idea of just working hard for every dime I had in my pocket. You know what I mean? Like, knowing that I earned that, and that it was mine to spend. You know what I mean? Like, everything I did spend, it was hard-earned money. And I love the idea of that. I just thought that was, to me, that fascinated me. I don't know why. It just did really early on. So I started working pretty early on. But I was doing landscaping. I did that for probably about 2 years, and then I switched over to construction, and that's where I met Arthur, the boy that signed me up for the show. And but yeah, that's a great company, man. There's a lot of good people there, and they were super, super helpful as far as providing goes when I was on the show. Very good people. Yeah. They bought me a guitar.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff. Good people.
So what was your point of view and perspective on addiction when you first started there, and maybe to now?
Well, I honestly, I think I've always had the same perspective on it, in a sense. There was a lot of times growing up when I was very upset, you know, from being young and just confused, like, you know, watching your family members be messed up at times and everything like that. It's hard to you know, I don't know, it's hard to kind of put into words, but there was times where I was just, you know, frustrated, I guess, as a kid, because you look at it like, you know, you wish. My biggest thing was, I wish my parents didn't have to go through that. You know what I mean? Or like, I wish that, like, it didn't have to feel that way.
Both of your parents struggled with addiction?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, they both struggle with addiction. They have my whole life, basically. You know what I mean? But they're good people. And you know, and that was always my thing. Is like, they're good people. They're not bad people. They're good people, and that's where so many people get it messed up, man. With addicts, it's like, you know, I know people personally that would look at somebody that was on drugs or high or whatever at the time and say, you know, they're not really worth nothing. You know what I mean? And people that, to me, that's like, I don't know. I can't get behind that. You know what I mean?
So you have sympathy for those.
Yes, yeah, 100%, man. Because I know that, like, you know, I seen this thing where Jelly Roll was even talking about it, man. You know what I mean? And I loved how he said it. I can't remember exactly what he said. I've never seen addicts not in addiction that didn't light up a room sober. You know what I mean? Or an addict that is, you know what I'm trying to say. That didn't light up a room sober, like when they're in that, you know, and they're finally in that state of mind, and they're, you know, they're clean, sober, and they light up a room. And it's because, man, and I think that's because it comes down to struggle, because they know what struggle really is. You know, they've been lowest of the lows, you know what I'm saying, and been so down and out that most people couldn't even imagine. You know what I mean? So, like, those, for some reason, you know, I gravitate towards those people more than anything. I just do, and I get along with people that are addicts, or not even necessarily addicts, just people that have kind of been through life, man, you know, and that have understand that, you know, life isn't all whatever, this and that, you know. Yeah. That to me is like, I don't know, even my bestest friends, man, are that I worked at ARC with. They, you know, they're all recovering addicts. They're my best friends in the whole world, you know. And they realize after all the time that it took them to get in the position they were in at that point in time. We were all working together. that they had messed up, that they made all these life decisions that had put them there, but they willingly accepted that, and they knew that they wanted to turn their life around. And, that comes down to, them, their faith in God and everything as well too. But I think that was just such a, it's such a cool thing to me. It's such a cool concept,
Yeah.
So
for people in recovery, I think, well, my experience personally, like having a higher power was like maybe the only thing that helped me get sober. Well, it was like a big staple. It wasn't like the only thing.
Yeah,
but
of
I
course.
needed faith in some
Of course,
way.
man. Yeah, because I feel like, man, you got to have a sense of faith in something. You know what I mean? I mean, I personally, obviously, I believe in God, but it's like, there's, whether it's in your children or anything like that, man, it's like you put your heart and soul into something, and that's what's going to keep you striving every day to just do better. You know what I mean? Or want better.
There's a few things there I wanted to touch on. So growing up, you did say it was hard for you with two parents struggling with addiction. How did you process and cope with that? And like, what was that your whole life? Or just a small portion?
My parents, I look at it like, there's things that I grew up doing with my parents that most kids probably wouldn't do with their parents, and I won't go into like full detail or nothing, but like, there's things like, like I grew up, I grew up growing pot with my dad, you know what I mean? Things like that. And to a lot of people, they would look at that as, that is just absolutely just, horrible. But in my case, I don't really look at it that way. I genuinely don't, because that was something that my dad knew how to do growing up with his dad or whatever, and that was just kind of a life skill thing that we knew to do to get by. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't like we were harming anybody or
In a way, it can be innocent. It really
yes,
can.
it really can, and I truly believe that. As far as marijuana goes, but then like obviously you look at other drug things. I mean that can vary. It can vary. It's just different. But I think those types of things, man, I'm grateful for that because I got to see a different side of growing up that not a lot of kids got to see. I got to see those types of things on real life struggles and trying to just get through and
Did music help you a lot with like did writing music
100%.
and playing music help you a lot with your mental health personally?
100%, yeah, 100%, man. I listen to all kinds of different types of music, but yeah, dude. I mean, there were times I would just lay in my bedroom and just blare the speakers, you know what I mean, and just turn on music. I'd lay there for hours. I mean, I'm the type of kid, man. I'd lay there in my bed. I just listen to that one song a million times or whatever, you know what I mean, and just listen to it over and over and over. But I'll just sit there and listen. I just love music, and I knew I loved music. I didn't know I'd be doing this, you know what I mean. But I think that's what's so funny about it all is just how it kind of worked out, because my dad had dreamt of doing music his whole life as well, but like I said, man, we're coming from a small town. There's not really much to, there's not really much there, and it seems almost impossible to get out of there sometimes, or do anything with yourself. So like we've been there our whole lives, and that's all any of us have really ever known.
Yeah, I personally struggled with that too, and a lot of the people I knew growing up, we hated the small town we were in, but we were like just in this cycle of everyday life and honestly kind of like destroying ourselves on a day-to-day basis, and we felt like there was no way out. And that can correlate with addiction as well.
100%.
So like actually like getting out is like mind-blowing.
Big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal, man. And I think a lot of people, in a sense, there's so many addicts back home, and like we got homeless people everywhere, you know what I mean, just in our small town, and it's so sad to see, but I think it's like because a lot of people just get stuck in that loop, man, you know what I mean, they can't get out of it, and that in a way kind of drives them mad too, turn to drugs or whatever, you know what I mean, which is sad as well. So I don't know, I don't know everybody's story, man, and I don't ever want to pretend like I do, that's like today when we're playing the songs. I always try to make it clear that like, hey, like I don't know how you feel exactly. I have no idea. Like I'm not even gonna pretend like I do because I couldn't imagine. But like in a sense, I can understand how it must feel because I've seen it with through my parents or you know, my best friend, man, or whoever, you know, like I've seen it so much throughout my life, with, you know, addicts and whatever, man, that I can somehow understand where you're coming from, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just without saying I know exactly how you feel, you know, because I don't want to pretend like I do, you know.
Exactly. That's
So
kind of like the difference between empathy and sympathy.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah,
Happened with, I remember you were mentioning him right before you started singing a song that your friend really did struggle with depression, then
mm-hmm.
passed away.
He this was like a little over a year ago, and we, he we got the news. My little brother and I, we were in Nashville because he was helping me move all my stuff, and he had come down there to help me move some things and everything. And the night that we drove home, we were all supposed to hang out with our buddy Steven. And like he ended up not messaging my little brother back, and he couldn't figure out why. You know what I mean? But I ended up leaving. That's a whole other thing. But he was supposed to come up and hang out with us that night. But he ended up not even messaging back. We couldn't figure out why. You know what I mean? But the next day we had found out that he had passed away. He had died, and like super sad. But the 2 weeks before we had found out that, you know, we were all drinking and hanging out at the house, and at the time I was going through stuff too, man. I couldn't wrap my head around nothing. You know, I couldn't figure out, you know, who I was even. I was struggling with a lot. You know, I don't know. I guess hormones or whatever. I don't know, man. Just going through a lot. And but we were sitting there talking. He was 27, and I was probably, I don't know, I guess 21 at the time. And we were just sitting there talking and hanging out. And I remember he was just explaining to me, man, about how he felt, and he hated his job, and you know, he wanted this and wanted that. He wanted to get out of everything. You know, he had gotten a DUI and things like that, so he'd kind of lost his license, all kinds of stuff, just everything. Just like life was just kind of like he couldn't catch a break. You know what I mean? And yeah, so we kind of talked about that, and you know, he had, you know, told me how depressed he was and whatnot, and I felt so bad for him. And then it wasn't but 2 weeks later he ended up, you know, passing away, and it was just super sad, man. But during that time, you know, he was really, really just drinking a lot, and like, so the song that we wrote, "Demons in My Whiskey," was like kind of, you know, metaphorically, it's like this song that's just touching on a moment for anybody that struggles with any kind of addiction where you don't even realize it's taking a toll on you. You know what I mean? You're just doing it. You're just in the moment, you know? And I think that's kind of what he was doing, you know? Drinking all the time, not necessarily realizing that he was doing it because he didn't want to think, you know? I think that's kind of what that's what I wanted to get out of the song, you know? And that was kind of the main goal of writing it. And, yeah, but you know, in that situation, or a situation with my parents, or a situation with anybody that struggles with addiction, you know, that's what the song was really supposed to be about. So,
What was the grieving process like for you? And did you,
yeah,
and like, there's definitely a stigma with men speaking about their mental health. Like, have you personally struggled with that? Like, even just telling people, like, hey, I'm kind of going through it right now. Like,
yeah, man, it's hard to sit and like speak about stuff like that. I definitely don't do it. You know what I mean? For the most part, I mean, I think it's really important though, especially like I've noticed it's really important to just be as real as possible though in my music. Just this past year, you know, with all the songs that I've been writing, and trying to be as real and open, as honest as I can be as an artist, and with just fans and people in general, because I want them to truly understand who I am, and you know, what I'm trying to say as an artist, all these things, you know. And so like the songs are very important in that aspect, but then speaking about the songs or trying to be you know, more vulnerable in that way, it's a completely different thing too, you know what I mean? Because people are getting really dive in on what the songs are truly about. But yeah, man, when he had passed, like, it was hard. I think I'm still kind of in shock about it sometimes. You know what I mean? Because I go home and we're all supposed to hang out and he's not there. You know, and we're all just like, whoa. You know, it's just weird. It's one of those things. Super sad, but like, yeah, it was rough, man. I mean, I remember I was bawling like a baby when we were burying him. You know what I mean? I was tore up. All of us were. We couldn't believe it. You know. I think it's when it really all kind of sat in a little bit more. But it was super sad, man. Yeah, super sad. And honestly, I felt horrible for his family and his mother and his dad more than anything, you know. And I would try to just check on them, check in with them all the time, make sure they're good and everything as well. But it sucks, man. Especially I think growing up, you know, also your friends, like, I don't believe that kids are supposed to go before their parents go.
Yeah.
And like, so like you see that and it's like you realize, I guess, just you get a glimpse of, wow, you know, it can happen any second of any day. You know, nobody knows. You have no clue when your time is, you know?
Yeah, that was something big because my best friend also passed away. It just turned 3 years since he passed away.
Oh, wow.
It's really heartbreaking, but you learn a lot from it. And it is sad seeing like a child go before their parents.
Yeah, 100%.
But I learned like I want to reach out to people, and I don't want to ever let somebody feel like they're alone or doing life alone.
Me too.
In any way.
Yeah, me too, man. I feel the same way. I think they're going through horrible stuff right now as well. So like it's like you want to. His family is, and like you want to reach out and say something, but also like for me, like I didn't want to like overstep because I know like going through something like that, you know, they're probably having however many people message and say, hey, you know, if you need anything or whatever, you know, we're there, and like you just don't want to, I guess, overstep. I guess for me is, but he was the craziest freaking guy you ever met in your life, man. Like literally the craziest dude ever. He was nuts. Like did not care for nothing, and but overall the best guy in the world. It was just sad, you know, super sad to see him go.
So for someone that doesn't personally, have you like personally, like, do you sympathize with addiction in terms of like you relate emotionally with how they feel?
Yeah, that's a good way to put
it. With the like
it.
constantly going to something that you know is bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like how do you relate with that with addiction?
And
how would you maybe also describe addiction to somebody who might not know the first thing about it?
Emotionally, man, you know, I've said, I've seen my parents and people come and go throughout my life that have been in active addiction and stuff like that, and that have struggled with it and can't seem to get out of that mindset. And I think that, you know, I think I have an addictive personality in general. You know, I've always thought I've had like an addictive personality just in whatever it is. Like if I, you know, whatever it could be, or anything, man. Yeah, anything. Like
going more into the song that you wrote about it.
Which one? You talking about Demons of Whiskey? That one?
Yeah, Demons of Whiskey. Like, what is that really? Like, dive into that song.
Yeah, that one. Okay. Well, the song was originally about Steven, and he was the whole concept of the song. And I didn't even really, I don't think I was really trying for it to come out the way that it did, because it touches on addiction and like, you know, that moment where I think not a lot of people really realize that they're, you know, in active addiction or however word you want to use for it. But like, I think it's just that very moment. It says demons in my whiskey, but it's also, I think it's a song for anybody that's kind of can listen to it and say, you know, I remember that moment where I felt like I had like lost myself in whatever it was that I was doing to drown it out, you know? And that's kind of how the song came across. But you know, he wasn't the kind of guy that like I wanted to go and write some sad funeral song for, you know what I mean? And so like, and he just wasn't that way. So like, it's a dedication song to that concept of like, you know, having, you know, an addiction in some way, but also, you know, just, I think that anybody can use it and relate to it in that sense. But like I said, we weren't really trying to write it from a place of, you know, being sad and, oh, we miss you and whatever. Like it was just like a kind of a dedication song, and that's what I wanted it to do. But the way it came out, I'm happy, really truly, how it came out, because I think a lot more people can relate to it in different ways.
You said you grew up in Nashville?
No, I grew up in Kentucky.
Oh, Kentucky.
Originally from Eastern Kentucky, but I've been living in Nashville for like 3 years now.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
So
life change.
Yeah, exactly. And you're 22.
Yeah, 22.
You're a little like maybe a few months old. I've turned 22 this month.
Yeah, did you? Yeah, see, yeah. So yeah. We're kids.
Yeah.
I still feel like a kid, man. So.
Yeah, like we are kids in a sense. Like we're just early 20s, like really trying to figure out life.
Exactly.
But you became a dad at 19, and then you get thrown on national television, which these are all beautiful things, but it's like, it's scary.
It is scary.
And then you're growing up in a small town in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And then now living in Nashville. It's like a music capital.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
like what was that like? Like going from being in a small town to like now so many people are looking at you.
It's a big change, man. Yeah, it's like I've been there my whole life. I didn't know anything outside of that. I might have maybe went on a trip here and there as a kid. I can't even remember it. You know what I mean? It's like things like that. I could not get out of, like I couldn't leave that place and my heart's still there in a sense, because it's like that's just home to me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But like I've been there so long, and that was all I'd ever known. I'd never seen a big building before or nothing, you know what I mean, or nothing. Yeah. So like getting on American Idol, and then I'm flying all over the country, seeing everything, and I'm like, holy crap, you know, first plane ride, you know.
So many firsts.
Oh my God, yeah, so many firsts. And I'd never done anything like that before, so it was just a lot. You know, I didn't know how to handle it. Yeah, scary.
Feeling overwhelmed.
So overwhelmed. But we had flown and we stayed in L.A. for, you know, the first 2 weeks of Hollywood Week on the show, and that was so big. I mean, bro, we were staying in this freaking, like, we're in this hotel, and it's like however many stories, like literally like 200 stories. I don't even know. It's huge. And, you know, we were there for 2 weeks, and that was huge for me. You know, just 2 weeks felt like I couldn't even believe it, you know. And, yeah, just such a life change, man. But then going all the way and then trying to, you know, have a music career, and then also like being a dad, and trying to see my son, and then trying to be in Nashville, and then trying to get home when I can so I could see him, and then playing shows, and then trying to write songs, and then all this, you know, commuting back and forth nonstop, and trying to, you know, just do the whole thing. It was a lot, you know.
How did you balance? Like, how did you find that balance? What was that process like?
I don't think I really did, in a way. I think I knew what I had to do, and I knew that, like, I mean, I had a good work ethic, you know. I did have a good work ethic, especially coming from what I was doing before. I had a good work ethic, and like I wanted to work. I just didn't, you know. Like, it was all scary, man. I got off the show, and then, you know, I have all these people around me all the time, and people are messaging me, calling me, you know, and which is, it takes a whole team, and it genuinely does. Like, especially, I mean, you're in Nashville, you're in the music business. Anything in that sense, you need a team of people to do it with, because it's just a lot. You know what I mean? You can't do it like all by yourself. It's not gonna happen. So, like, getting used to that, because I had weird problem trusting people too as well. You know, just like, and then just like let people in, and you know, you're just trusting one after the other, like, you know, whatever. It's just a lot to take in at once, you know, and trying to get used to that lifestyle as quick as I did, you know, and trying to do it all.
How long has it been?
It's been like 3 years.
Yeah.
It's been like three. I mean, yeah, it's been maybe a little over 3 years. I don't know, something like that.
So you went in as was your son born?
Yes. Yeah, he was born. Yeah, he was born. He was probably, God, dude, he wasn't even a year old yet. So he wasn't even a year old yet. So I'd say, I don't know, 6-7 months or something like that.
Dang.
Something like that. Or no, yeah, no, he something in that sense. Yeah, it had to be, because the entire concept of the show takes a good period of time. So I'd say he was about 6-7, because he turned a year old on the show while I was on the show. So yeah, there was that too.
Do you ever feel like you kind of grew up fast? Because
all the time.
Yeah.
So all the time, man. Which I feel like I was the kind of kid that, like, I had not to like say it's to brag or anything, but like I feel like I was very mature minded, and I knew what I wanted to do, you know, from very early on. I knew I wanted to work, wanted to make money, you know, as soon as I got out of high school, whatever I had to do that, you know. Like I was working by the time I was 13 up until I graduated high school all the time with my dad or whatever, you know what I mean? and I kind of, in a sense, always knew what I wanted, you know. Not even in music, I didn't realize music was going to happen for me. Just like, as far as, you know, having things, and yeah, just being able to provide for myself, and that's all I really knew at the time. Yeah, heck yeah, I feel like I grew up fast, man. So like, I mean, that stuff, like I said, I've always been mature-minded, but going into, you know, from back-to-back things, I knew what I wanted, but then I had a kid so early on, that wasn't planned, and then American Idol happened, that wasn't planned. And then I was moving to Nashville. That wasn't planned. And I was doing all these, you know, all the crazy things all at once. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to do it all and map it all out as, you know, as the best that I can. You know, the best that I know how to, because I'm just a kid. You know what I mean? Just a kid. So, but all that to say, man, it sounds like I'm like saying it bad, but all those things are like, those are the best things that could have ever happened for my life. Because if they had not happened, I wouldn't be where I'm at or who I am.
I know there's such beautiful things, and we're so grateful for them. But it's like, oh my goodness, I would have never expected this. How do I balance this?
Try to balance them all out, man. It's really hard to balance all those things out and like feel content at where you're at, and you feel like you're doing a good enough job all the time. You know, and as far as being a dad or all kinds of things, man. You know.
Yeah, and it's funny because I really relate with your timeline. Because it's been like 3 years since like your career really took off, and it's been 3 years since I got sober and like started my life.
It's awesome, man.
And
it is.
I felt like I was growing up fast as well.
Yeah.
And like I was just, I don't know, I don't think I was like mentally like trying to grow up fast. It was just happening. Like I also felt like I was decently more mature than my age, and
of course.
And I didn't have like, sure, I had like kind of dreams, but I didn't have a plan to achieve them. Yeah. But then things kind of just fell in line. And like same with you, I'm like, wow, my life is so full and beautiful now. How do I like keep this and like don't fuck it up in a way?
No, yeah, I get it, man. I swear, like that was my thing. It's like you're almost, I don't know, put on a pedestal or something. You know what I mean? And you can let it weigh out however you want it to, in a sense. You know, I felt like when I got off the show, I was kind of put on that, and like, you know, it's your decision whether or not, you know, you can keep the ball rolling or you can just fall off and just let it go. You know what I'm saying?
Do you feel as if people forget that you like have your own struggles with like all this attention on you?
I think so. Yeah. I think that, yeah, heck yeah, for sure. Because I don't know, man. You know, people look at you as a celebrity, you know what I mean, or whatever at the time. When I first got off the show, I didn't know how to deal with that either. But like, you know, yeah, we're playing shows and I'm meeting people, and there's all kinds of people come out to see us play these shows, and it's awesome. Oh, it's so cool, you know what I mean? But, you know, realistically, you know, in whatever way, people just want something from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just wanted something from you, like whatever it is, you know. But, you know, you got a lot of stuff going on, but you can't really sit there and talk about that. You know what I mean? That's not what people
want to hear.
It's not what people want to hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to hear it either. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and talk about all my crap. You know what I mean? To people.
Yeah.
But like now, man, things have changed so much because of all the stuff I went through. Just that I just stopped thinking about everything else and just started trying my best to just write songs that feel like me and that feel like they're all portions of my life. I felt that way at one point, and I know other people have too. You know, so like that was my biggest thing, and just trying to do that. And so I've been trying to write all these songs and make them all make the best sense I know how to, and release them, and hopefully people can kind of understand where I'm coming from.
What do you want like to be known as with your music? Like, what message do you want to put out there? Because you're also like, we just performed at a detox here in Maryland, and then you also heard something about you guys going to jail or something and performing as well. So you're like doing all these, and then I also saw you perform at Mobilize Recovery.
Yeah.
So you're doing all these great things for like advocacy and like spreading message. So like, yeah, why, in a sense?
I think, I mean, it goes back to like, feeling like all of my best friends, man, that I worked with, that my job that I had, man, all those boys are recovering addicts, and like they get it, I think that during my time being with them, seeing how real those guys were, they just understand life. Like I said earlier, you know what I mean? I think it's really nice to go and play songs such as mine now and go to facilities just like this and play songs for people that get it, you know what I mean? And they can listen to it and go, daggone, man, I needed to hear that today, because I was really struggling today to believe in anything else other than, maybe I thought about going, maybe I want to get high today, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, you know what I mean? You have no idea. And I think that music truly, I think it's healing. I really do. I think it's the most healing thing on earth. I really do. So I think that having the ability and being able, given the opportunity to go and play for people that truly understand the songs is like a really, really cool thing to be a part of, I think. For sure. So that's what the songs are for.
What do you do today for your mental health, would you say? And what's your overall take on stigma with addiction and men's mental health, to kind of wrap it up?
Yeah, man. I think for me personally, man, I'm still learning every day. You know what I mean? I definitely struggle with so many things. Not feeling like you're good enough, everything like that. I think it's just really important just to surround yourself with the best possible people you can. Mine is my band, stuff like that. I'm in Nashville, in and out of Nashville as much as possible. I go on. What really saves me is knowing that I have a little boy to take care of. That's me personally. And I think a lot of people should do. I think everybody should do that though, especially if they have kids. You know what I'm saying? I think it should be a thing that should be your go-getter. That's like the thing that you wake up and go every day, like, I have a reason to do this, because if I don't, there's no other person that's going to take care of that little baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. You know what I mean? And I know that, I go through crap, but realistically, I almost have to tell myself, like, man, it's not just about you. You know what I mean? It's like we're all here for a reason, and so I think that I just try to my best to remind myself of that as much as I possibly can.
Your opinion on stigmas with mental health and addiction, and how we can break them.
On stigmas? What do you mean exactly? Sorry, my bad.
So stigma, stigma is a negative connotation on a certain topic.
Okay.
For example, how you were saying, I see somebody who's addicted or somebody that's going to rehab.
Yes.
They're a piece of shit.
Right, yeah.
I'm the world perceives them as pieces of shit that deserve nothing. That's a stigma on addiction. Yeah. And then with mental health, with men's mental health, for example, men typically feel like they don't have a space to talk about their struggles.
Yeah, 100%. I get that. Yeah, I love it. You said that. Okay, my bad. No, that's great. I believe that, man. Yeah, I guess, there's a lot of men out there, man, that feel that, they can't fully, express truly how they feel, because they're looked at in not a, I guess a masculine way, or whatever the word is for it exactly, for expressing how they feel about whatever it is that they're going through. And I think it's important to definitely, just be open and honest as you possibly can, and talk to the people you're surrounded by, and people you feel closest to, and man, I don't think there should be like a division between that. You know what I mean? Where men feel like they can't speak on how they feel in whatever circumstances at all whatsoever. I think it should be an equal thing in general. I think society's just made it seem that way.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today. It means the world.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, welcome to Maryland. Have you been? Have you been before?
Dude, I've been here before. I know I have, but it's been in and out. I haven't been, because I know I've been to Maryland before. I'm pretty sure I've been in every state in the country.
That's awesome.
To be honest, at least once. I feel like I have.
Now you're well traveled. Look at that.
Huh?
Now you're well traveled.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's crazy. That's what I'm saying. Life changed.
Life is
I'm a kid. I lived in Louisa, Kentucky my whole life, and I've been there and never left. And then, yeah.
Now you're doing so much.
Yep.
No, yeah. Thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, of course.